I knew something was wrong the moment I stepped out of that meeting. Morgan and Brielle sat across from me the whole time, saying almost nothing, exchanging glances that felt rehearsed. No raised voices, no accusations, just a suffocating quiet, the kind you only hear when someone has already made a decision about you. I walked down the hallway of Windforge Media, my heels tapping against the concrete floors. "You good one," of the interns asked. I nodded, but my chest was tight. Instead of heading to the elevator, I turned toward the founder's vault. Hardly anyone used it anymore. I swiped my badge. The door clicked open. The room smelled like paper and cold air, a place frozen in time. I scanned the shelves until something caught my eye, a thin silver folder, wedged between archived contracts. No label, no timestamp. Morgan hated anything unmarked. My hands were steady until I opened it. Inside was a finalized legal agreement, notarized in Palo Alto. It assigned 42% controlling shares of Windforge Media to Brielle Wynn. It granted her full chief executive authority. My name appeared nowhere. Not in footnotes, not in appendices. I felt my throat close, but anger did not come, only clarity. The door creaked behind me. Brielle leaned inside, her smile too soft. "Talia," she said, brushing her hair off her shoulder, "Dad told me you might find something. I guess we're doing this now." I held up the folder. "You knew." "I did," she replied, voice calm. "Dad thinks the company needs a new era, a voice people connect with, not spreadsheets." "You mean, not me?" She shrugged. "You work hard. Everyone knows that. But working hard isn't the same as leading." I stared at her for a long moment. For years, I had believed I was building a future here. 10 years of nights, weekends, canceled birthdays, missed weddings. All for this. Before I left the vault, I looked at Brielle one last time. "Whatever you think you're ready for," I said quietly, "you're not." As I walked out, I steadied my breathing. "If you are listening right now, tell me where you're tuning in from, your city, your time, because this is where everything began to break." I left the vault, folder still burning in my mind, and walked straight into the glass conference area where Morgan stood reviewing notes with our operations director. He looked up, surprised to see me. "Talia, you left quickly," he said. "Everything all right?" I kept my voice even. "How long have you been planning this?" His shoulders stiffened. "Planning what? Giving Brielle control?" I didn't raise my voice. I just let the words sit between us. Morgan glanced at the operations director, who quietly slipped away. He sighed. "Honey, you have always been the backbone. But being the backbone is different from being the face. I never asked to be the face." I said. "I asked to be respected." "You are," he insisted. "But leadership requires intuition, charisma, instinct, things you cannot build in spreadsheets. I built an entire predictive engine that doubled our revenue," I said. "I led the Atlas negotiations for almost a year. I kept this place running while you grieved, while Brielle found herself across 3 continents." His jaw tightened. "That is enough." "No," I said. "It isn't." Silence stretched between us. He looked older than I remembered, but no amount of age could soften what he had done. "You promised me the company," I said, over and over. After every milestone, every late night, every holiday I worked, you put your hand on my shoulder and told me I was inheriting the legacy. "I said you were essential," he corrected. "Not entitled." The word hit harder than any betrayal in that silver folder. "You missed your own best friend's wedding because of a client call," he continued. "That kind of commitment is rare, but it also proves something: you don't know how to let go. You grip everything too tightly. That is not leadership." Brielle stepped into the doorway, her tone airy. "Dad, maybe she just needs time to process." Morgan nodded slowly. "Take a few days. Clear your head. We will discuss your next steps. I stared at both of them, feeling the ground shift beneath my feet. 10 years collapsing into a single truth: I was only valuable as long as I was unseen. Brielle acted like the hallway belonged to her as she walked beside me, phone in hand, voice bright and airy. "You should have seen the comments on my announcement post," she said. "People are so excited about my vision for WinForge." "Your announcement post?" I asked. She lifted her screen, a photo of her in the executive chair, legs crossed, captioned, "A new chapter begins." Thousands of likes, hundreds of hashtags. I stopped walking. "You posted before it was official." "It is official," she replied, shrugging. "Dad said I could. And honestly, we need better optics. Real leadership needs a little sparkle." I stared at her. "Leadership needs competence." She twirled a strand of hair. "Competence is important, but connection, that is what people respond to. Look at the comments, everyone feels inspired." I stepped into the open workspace where a few team leads gathered around Brielle's new changes. The walls, once neutral, now displayed mock-ups of pastel mood boards labeled Sunrise Peach Direction. Miles, one of our senior analysts, approached me quietly. "Talia, are these changes permanent?" "They are," Brielle answered before I could speak. "New palette, new Slack channels, weekly inspiration circles. We are building a culture, not just a corporation." Miles looked at me, hoping I would counter her. I held his gaze for a moment, then said nothing. Brielle rested a hand on my arm. "You have always been amazing with numbers. But numbers do not build a brand. Emotion does." Morgan stepped out of the conference room just as she said it. "Brielle is right. We need someone who understands the modern audience." I felt the shift happen again, the same one from the vault, the same one from the meeting earlier. A quiet rewriting of history, where my decade of work was suddenly the past and Brielle's enthusiasm was the future. Morgan smiled at her. "Not me. This is the new era of WinForge." And just like that, I understood I was no longer part of the future they imagined. 2 days after the pastel rebrand, Morgan called a last-minute check-in with the leadership team. I wasn't invited. I heard about it from Miles, who whispered, "They are reviewing the Atlas timeline without you." Atlas, my project. 7 months of work. The largest contract WinForge had ever pursued. $18.4 million on the table. I walked straight to my office, logged into the secure server, and clicked through the Atlas folder. The file tree looked normal until I saw a new subfolder labeled Final Pitch, Brielle version. My throat tightened as I opened it. Every slide I created was there, every model, every forecast, every variable I tested at 3 in the morning after Morgan insisted one more refinement was necessary. Except the title slide, presented by Brielle Wynn, Interim, Chief Executive Officer. The room felt smaller. I scrolled through more slides. She had replaced the analytical header styling with a scripted font, added pastel gradients, and removed the precision notes Dana Whitfield specifically requested. The door opened behind me. Brielle stepped in, holding a kombucha bottle. "Oh, good. You found it," she said. "Dad thinks the client will respond better if the presentation feels more human." I turned in my chair. "You took my work." She laughed softly. "Talia, it is not stealing when it is for the company. Besides, you are amazing at building the data. I am amazing at delivering it. You do not understand the data." I said, "That is what confidence is for." She took a sip. "And honestly, Dana likes you, but she does not like your style. You overwhelm people. That is called competence." "No," she said, leaning against my desk. "It is called rigidity. You cling to numbers because you do not trust instinct. That is why Dad asked me to take the lead." Morgan appeared in the doorway. "Brielle, the team is ready." She pushed off my desk and smiled. "Wish me luck." "Sis." I stood up slowly. "If you present that deck, You are walking into a meeting you cannot survive. Brielle's smile didn't waver. That is only true if I play by your rules. She left the office with Morgan beside her, and for the first time, I realized they were willing to let me disappear completely as long as the image of Windforge looked pretty. I stayed seated long after they left, the door swinging shut behind them. The office around me hummed with the low, familiar noise of people working, but it felt distant, like I was listening from underwater. Miles appeared at my doorway. Talia, is it true Brielle is presenting Atlas? I nodded once. He lowered his voice. She will not make it through 5 minutes of Dana's questions. I know, I said. And Morgan knows too. Miles hesitated. Then why let it happen? I closed my laptop, because they want me to stay quiet until the damage is irreversible. He swallowed hard, then stepped back as if something in me had changed. Maybe it had. I walked past him without another word. Downstairs. The evening cleaning crew had arrived. The receptionist looked up, surprised. Talia, you are leaving early, just heading home, I said. My voice was steady, too steady. When I got home, I sat at my dining table, opened my personal laptop, and typed a new message. To Morgan Wynn, to Brielle Wynn, to Lila Bay. Subject resignation. I wrote only 2 lines. This message serves as my immediate and final resignation from Windforge Media. My badge and laptop will be at reception by 6 in the morning. No explanation, no goodbye. I stared at it for a moment, then clicked send. My phone buzzed immediately, calls, texts, notifications stacking up. I turned it face down and powered it off. Silence filled the room. A few minutes later, there was a soft knocking on my door, my neighbor checking in, asking if everything was all right. I told her I was fine, but fine wasn't the word. Fine meant survival. What I felt was something colder, something final. By morning, my phone was a graveyard of missed calls. 6 from my mother, Elise. 4 from Morgan. 1 from Brielle. All ignored. I dropped my badge and laptop at reception before Windforge opened. The receptionist blinked at the items. You are. Done I am, I said quietly. On my way out, the elevator doors opened and Lila Bay rushed in, hair still wet from a fast shower, eyes wide. Talia, wait. She grabbed my elbow gently. I just saw your email. Are you okay? I am finished, I said. Lila exhaled shakily. I am not supposed to tell you this, but since dawn, Brielle has been in the analytics room asking the junior team to simplify your Atlas models. She cannot read them. I said. She cannot even explain the acquisition curve on slide 32, Lila whispered. She thought the retention curve was decorative. I blinked. Decorative. Lila nodded. Miles tried to help. She told him he was cluttering the vision. A breath left my chest, something close to a laugh, but without humor. Then let her present. Lila's expression tightened. Talia, the Atlas pitches today. Dana Whitfield will not tolerate fluff. I know. So you are really not stepping in? She asked. No, I said. Saving them was never my job. They only treated it like it was. Lila swallowed. Then, I hope they understand what they have done. I walked past her toward the doors. Halfway through the parking lot, my phone lit up again. A voicemail. My mother's voice, trembling. Talia, please, you are tearing this family apart. Your father did not mean to hurt you. Call me, please. I deleted it without listening to the rest. 2 minutes later, a text came in from Brielle. You are being dramatic. Leadership is hard. Grow up. I blocked her number. Another message buzzed before I could pocket the phone. Miles this time. Please tell me you are coming back before she destroys everything. I stared at the screen for a long second, then typed one thing back. No, the cracks had started, and none of them were mine. I did not go into the office that morning, but I could imagine the scene as clearly as if I were standing in the boardroom myself. At 9:20 sharp, Win Forge's pitch team walked into the Vantage Solar headquarters in Palo Alto. Miles later told me the whole place felt tense, like everyone sensed something was off. Brielle arrived 10 minutes late. She swept into the conference room wearing a tailored cream blazer and a smile that had no weight behind it. "So excited for today," she said, setting her phone face up beside her notes. "Let us redefine energy storytelling." Morgan beamed at her. "You have got this, sweetheart." Across the table, Dana Whitfield looked up from her tablet. "Shall we begin?" She said it politely, but Dana's politeness was never a sign of comfort. It was a sign she expected efficiency. Brielle dimmed the lights and clicked to the first slide, my slide. I knew it by heart. Only now it had a pastel gradient and a title that made me wince when Miles repeated it later. Atlas Where Data Meets Soul. "Thank you for meeting with us." Brielle began. "Atlas is not just a strategy. It is a movement, a feeling." Dana leaned back in her chair. "I hope it is also a plan." Brielle laughed lightly, as if the comment were a joke. "Of course. Emotion drives everything. Though, and our goal is," Dana held up a hand. "Let us move to the projections." Brielle stiffened but clicked through several slides until she reached the forecasting section, my work, rewritten in round fonts and decorative icons. "As you can see," Brielle said, "we are proposing a 22% shift to smart display artificial intelligence in Q3. Dana tapped the screen. "What dataset supports that percentage?" Silence. "Miles," said. Brielle's eyes darted across the screen like she expected the answer to appear if she stared hard enough. She cleared her throat. "Well, the essence of the model." "The essence," Dana repeated. Brielle forced a smile. "Yes. The direction feels aligned with what the market needs." Dana's tone sharpened. "What acquisition cost figure did you use to justify the Q3 pivot?" Morgan shifted in his seat. "Dana." "The strategy is I am asking her," Dana said. Brielle's voice dropped. "We do not need to bury ourselves in numbers." Dana closed her tablet. The sound was soft, final. "This was not your work." Miles told me. The room froze. Dana looked straight at Brielle. "You cannot explain your own proposal. You cannot defend a single assumption. I have been in this industry for over 30 years. I know when someone is presenting a deck they did not create." Morgan's breath hitched. "Dana, if you will allow us to clarify." "No." Dana stood. "This meeting is over." Brielle rose halfway from her chair. "We can revise. I just need time." "You need competence," Dana said. "And that cannot be revised." As she gathered her things, she added without looking back, "Send my regards to Talia. She is the only reason we entertained Atlas in the first place." When the door shut behind her, the silence was heavier than the failure itself. Miles texted me 2 words right after it happened, and for the first time since I walked out of Win Forge, I felt nothing but calm. The message from Miles had barely settled in my mind when my phone rang again, this time from an unknown number. I answered only because I recognized the area code. "Talia," Dana Whitfield said, her tone clipped but steady. "I assume you know what happened." I sat down at my kitchen table. I heard enough. "Then I will be direct." She continued. "Atlas is off the table. Win Forge has lost the full $18.4 million. I am notifying legal tonight." I closed my eyes but stayed silent. After a moment, Dana added, "I want you to understand something. I did not walk out because of the execution. I walked out because of the dishonesty. Your father presented your work under someone else's name." I swallowed. "I know. If you ever decide to lead a strategy team independently," Dana said, "my door is open." Then she hung up. I barely had time to breathe before the next call came through, this one from Morgan. I let it ring twice before picking up. "What did you do?" he shouted. No greeting. No pause. Just fury. Dana pulled the contract. Do you understand what that means? Do you understand what you have done to us? To us, I repeated slowly. You walked out at the worst possible time. He snapped. You left your family. You abandoned the company when it needed you most. I resigned. I said, You replaced me. Remember, he ignored that. You need to come back now. Fix this. You are the only one who can. No, I said. There was a pause, sharp, stunned silence. No, he repeated, as if the word were foreign. Let your chief executive officer handle it, I said. You made your choice. Talia, this is not the time for pride. WinForge is in free fall. We lost 2 senior analysts this afternoon. 3 clients have paused their budgets. The board wants an emergency meeting. I am not your solution anymore. You are. He insisted. You always have been. I felt something shift inside me, cold, firm, final. That was the problem. Before he could speak again, I ended the call. For a full minute, the phone stayed still. Then, the screen lit up again, this time with a text from Brielle. You are a traitor. You humiliated me. You ruined everything. I blocked her number too. Outside my window, the Austin skyline flickered against the dusk. The world moving on, indifferent to WinForge's unraveling. My phone stayed quiet. No apologies. No clarity. Only consequences. 8 days passed before anyone in my family contacted me again. Not calls, not texts, not tears. Just an email. 3 words. From Morgan. What will it take? Not we are sorry. Not we were wrong. Not even please. Just a transaction. I forwarded it to my attorney, Daniel Cho. Within 10 minutes, he replied, Conference room at WinForge. Tomorrow. 10 a.m. I arrived exactly on time. Morgan was already seated, shoulders heavy, suit rumpled in a way I had never seen. His lawyer sat beside him, flipping through a folder. Brielle was nowhere in sight. Daniel pulled out a chair for me. I sat with my back straight, hands steady. It was the first time in my life I felt taller than Morgan. He tried to break the silence. Talia, the situation is worse than you know. Our cash flow. This is not a financial meeting, I said. This is a terms meeting. His lawyer cleared his throat. Ms. Wynn, your father is prepared to negotiate, but we ask that you... You are not negotiating with my father, I said. You are negotiating with the person who built every core system in this company. Morgan blinked, taken aback by the calm in my voice. I slid a single page across the table. These are my conditions. He picked it up, scanned it, then looked at me like he wasn't sure if he had read it correctly. 27% equity, permanent chief strategy authority, full decision rights on every major client. His voice cracked. Talia, this is necessary. He shook his head. No board would approve this. The board does not have a choice. I said. You have 4 months of runway left. The analysts you lost were the only ones who understood the data environment. And Dana Whitfield made her position clear. She will not work with WinForge unless I am leading Atlas. Morgan pressed a hand to his forehead. You are asking me to demote your sister to a creative assistant. No. I leaned forward. I am asking you to stop giving her power she cannot handle. His lawyer whispered. We do not have leverage to decline. Morgan's voice grew thin. You are punishing her. I am protecting the company. I said, the company you built. The one you nearly destroyed trying to force a fantasy into reality. The room went silent. Morgan looked at the paper again, then at me, really looked at me. The way he used to before the years of excuses and the worship of charisma. I never meant for this to happen, he said quietly. You meant for all of it, I replied. Every choice led here. He closed his eyes. Then he signed. Daniel slid the document back to me, nodding once. Congratulations, he said. You now hold the power to rebuild this place." Morgan exhaled shakily. "Talia." What happens now? I stood and gathered my things. Now I met his eyes. Now I lead. For real this time. I walked into Wind Forge the next morning with the signed agreement in my bag and a calmness I had never felt in this building before. The front desk receptionist froze when she saw me. "Talia, you're back. I am," I said. "But things will be different now." When I reached the analytics floor, Miles stood up so quickly his chair rolled back. "Please tell me this is real," he said. "Please tell me you are not just visiting." "I am not visiting," I replied. "I am rebuilding." He exhaled like he had been holding his breath for days. Priya, our other senior analyst who had quit, stepped out from behind him. "I got your message last night," she said. "Is the offer real? Actual raises actual authority." "Yes," I said. "And actual leadership. The kind you deserved from the start." Miles shook his head. "Then we are in. Both of us." Word spread faster than gossip ever had. By noon, the remaining team leads were gathered in the main conference room, the same room where Morgan once told me I was essential, but not entitled. This time, I sat at the head. Morgan slipped in quietly, taking the chair farthest from me. No one acknowledged him. The shift had already happened. I cleared my throat. "We have 4 months of runway. Atlas is gone, and client confidence is shaken. But we are not dead. We rebuild now, and we rebuild with truth." Miles leaned forward. "What do you need from us, everything?" I said. "Your honesty, your pushback, your brilliance. No more silencing, no more optics, no more pastel fantasies." A few people laughed tired, relieved laughter. I continued. "I have already contacted Dana Whitfield. She wants a full relaunch plan by tomorrow night, and she will get the real Atlas, the one I built. The one you all helped refine." Priya raised a hand. "And Brielle. She will transition to a creative wellness division. No client contact, no strategy access." The room didn't cheer. They didn't need to. The silence itself was approval. Morgan finally spoke, voice low. "I hope this works." "Talia, it will," I said, "because you will not be leading it." His eyes dropped to the table. Even in that small gesture, the balance shifted again. When the meeting adjourned, I walked to my new office, the one with the corner windows Morgan used to occupy. The skyline of Austin glowed gold in the afternoon light. I sat at the desk, opened my laptop, and pulled up the original Atlas framework. Every line of code felt like coming home. As I drafted my message to Dana, I pressed record for a moment, something I never did before, but something felt right now. "If you are listening," I said softly, "tell me where you are tuning in from. Because trust me, rebuilding yourself after being underestimated, that is a story worth sharing." I ended the recording, hit send on the proposal, and leaned back in my chair. Not the backbone, not the shadow, not the quiet survivor. For the first time in my life, I was exactly where I belonged.